Welcome to the EGC Marketing Podcast. We provide you with the latest digital marketing news, performance marketing tips, and creative problem-solving skills you need to stay resilient in our fast-changing world of marketing. Listen and learn how to get the edge over your competition and grow.
So hello everyone and welcome back to the EGC Marketing Edge podcast. I am your host, Max Ross, and joining me today is Shannon Dewar, a senior social media manager at EGC. In today's episode, we're going to be tackling a critical issue that's shaking the industry, the potential ban of social media behemoth TikTok. As many of you may be aware, the US government has expressed significant concerns regarding TikTok's parent company, ByteDance. These concerns have escalated to the point where President Biden recently signed legislation that requires TikTok to either restructure internally, find a US buyer within a one-year timeframe, or risk being removed from the smartphone of every US user. This situation does raise many questions. What could the social media landscape look like in the absence of TikTok? How will the popularity of short-form content be affected? And are there other platforms that are actively positioning themselves to capitalize on this uncertainty? Shannon and I will be addressing some of these crucial questions throughout our discussion today. And the goal of this podcast is to equip you with the knowledge and strategies needed to navigate this ever-evolving digital environment. Shannon, it is great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Max. I'm excited to dive into this important topic.
All right, fantastic. So to begin, would you like to shed some context on really what this ban is and the potential implications of it?
Yes. So just let's start with pretty much what's being said about the ban, because I know it's a lot of a gray area of what could happen, the results of it, what we know, what we don't know. So starting with that, the US has expressed concern that TikTok and ByteDance, which is the Chinese company that owns the platform, may be leaking sensitive user data like location information to the Chinese government. So TikTok has denied these allegations, and they're saying they're trying to distance themselves from ByteDance, but the US government, as you said, recently signed a bill to ban TikTok, which gives them less than a year at this point to sell the platform to a government-approved buyer. So we don't really know the timeline on this. ByteDance could come back and want to bring this to trial, which could, drag this out a little longer. But there are actions in place to try to get TikTok banned in the US.
So, a lot of questions that, people are asking, or rather the most obvious question is TikTok going to be removed from my phone if, they fail to restructure or sell or silo themselves off to a US investor? Is that something that could potentially happen, if they do not, adhere to what's being presented to them?
Yeah, so this is actually still being looked into further, but it's believed that the app will not be immediately removed from your phone if the ban does go into effect. But what they're aiming at more from research and experts that I looked into and what they're saying as well is that they're aiming this more at the app stores. So for example, Apple and Google, they want to have these stores start denying people the ability to download or update the TikTok app on their phones. So will everyone's content that they ever posted on TikTok be deleted once this ban goes into effect if they already have the app downloaded? That's still unsure of. But they just definitely they're aiming to prevent future downloads and upgrades to the app for those users who do already have it. So just trying to keep people limited to who's using the platform. And like I said, it's still kind of a gray area and being looked into of what will happen to your content that's already out.
And, just to touch on the content itself. So TikTok, obviously, the predominant content on the platform is, the short form video. And you could argue that TikTok was kind of the, player behind, generating the popularity of this content. You could point to Vine, or you could point to like other offshoots prior, but really TikTok was the one that solidified it. Have you seen other social media platforms start to adopt TikTok's content stream or algorithm? And, of the ones that exist, perhaps like a YouTube Shorts or an Instagram Reels, which one do you think is going to emerge, as the most popular media app for this content following TikTok's potential uncertainty?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we can all agree that we've seen such a rise of Reels on Facebook and Instagram, where they've kind of mimicked TikTok in wanting to become a search engine for video content. So people are going to these platforms to look up videos on topics they're interested in so they could watch something rather than read it on Google in an article. I think that we're going to see a rise in the amount of users on Instagram. I've already been seeing people I follow, influencers on TikTok, sending out messages to their followers saying, hey, this is an uncertain time. We don't know what's going to happen with the TikTok ban, but make sure to follow us on Instagram because we're there as well. And we want to keep a connection. So we're already starting to see people make that shift. But I do think it is important for people to not just stick to TikTok for their video content. Make sure you're utilizing these other platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, because those are great platforms for videos as well. One thing I do want to bring up, though, because I think it's important, is the algorithm. So that's something that is being looked into further with the ban as well, because as you mentioned, TikTok has such an elaborate algorithm that is different from Facebook and Instagram. So when you're scrolling through Facebook and Instagram, you see on your news feed a lot of content from your followers. You'll have a few things sprinkled in of topics you might be interested in or product ads, but a majority of it is your friends and those people you follow. Now, if you go to TikTok, there's separate tabs. One is following, so you get to see the content of who you're following on the app. And then the main page is the For You page. So something that's interesting there is that page is filled with videos that their algorithm thinks you'll like, regardless of whether you or not you follow the page. So I think that's a big thing talking about the ban and reselling of TikTok is, will the algorithm be something that is sold with the app? Because we don't know if that software is going to be something that the Chinese government wants to sell with it. So will we see a shift in even how TikTok is being used if the US does decide to, keep utilizing the platform, if we approve of who buys it? That's a really big topic too for discussion. But I do think that definitely elevating video content on Facebook and Instagram is so important, and just making sure you have content strategies for these other platforms as well. So you're not just focusing on being on one platform.
Yeah, I guess the key word here is, diversification. In the same way
Yes.
that, you'd have a diversified like stock portfolio, you'd want to do the same for, your social media
Yes.
strategy and such. Cool. So another thing I wanted to touch on is this whole concept of, the creator economy. Obviously, we have a lot of TikTok influencers in the same way that we have an Instagram influencer or a YouTube influencer. Have you started to see any of these, creators start to move their content away from TikTok as a result of the uncertainty? I know, EGC has some influencer work with, for example, like Jovia and such. And I'm wondering if there's just any thought processes about, how to migrate an influencer from one platform to perhaps another platform.
Yeah, so I've been seeing that a lot of influencers, even before the talk of the whole ban, have been on Instagram as well and kind of repurposing those videos just so that they're themselves on more than one platform and continuing to expose their content to a wider audience. So I think a lot of them do already exist there. But as I said earlier, yeah, I am seeing people make the shift. And I think that with the rise of reels and video content, a lot of the strategy can be similar, of course, with some adjustments based on different audiences and maybe age ranges on these platforms. TikTok is a lot younger of an audience, whereas Instagram might be a little older, but they are definitely repurposing those videos and making sure that they're adjusting to those audiences and kind of telling their younger TikTok audience, hey, we're going to be here as well. And a lot of them do have Instagram, but there definitely is that shift to be on that platform as well.
So another question that I had was, of course, with these social media platforms, what do we use them for? We use them for advertising, right? Is there a significant difference between the cost per lead on a platform like a TikTok versus a Meta? And if so, are we seeing people shift their spend? And how is this going to impact really budgets going forward? If you want to touch on it from a high level point of view.
Yeah, so I think we'll definitely see a shift in how brands and businesses are using paid on the platform. Of course, if there's a TikTok ban, they're going to want to make sure they're still getting their money's worth of their exposure. So I think we can expect to see this shift. to Instagram, Facebook, Meta as a whole. But that's a really good question. I think this definitely will influence the paid side of advertising on these platforms, and that this could be a really good thing for Meta.
Amazing. So now I'm going to ask the last question. This is a question that I'm starting to ask to conclude all of these podcasts, and it really revolves around. So, what about this topic, excites you the most? What are you basically talking to your clients about? You are a senior director of social media, and also, is there anything that's going on in your life right now that you would like to share with our users that you find exciting, not just about TikTok, but really about anything within the general industry?
Yeah. So I will say first that we are keeping a close eye on this to make sure that our clients are informed. So they're involved and with us every step of the way based on what's happening with this ban. So definitely suggest to other marketers, if they have not already, keep building out content strategies for a range of these platforms. So you're not just on TikTok, but you're going beyond that for marketing and advertising. And something that I'm excited for, I love that question, but just the rise of video content, even on Instagram and Facebook, we've been seeing that more. That's nothing really new. But I think just being able to use that same strategy and tell your story visually through videos is what's really engaging and exciting. And our clients have been loving it as well. Being able to showcase your employees, your team, and not just have a static image post or an informative post. They're being able to be informative and share through storytelling. And I think that's so exciting. And that's why even with the TikTok ban, you can still do that. You can do that on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. It's just so exciting to see these brands come to life and put a face to these brands that I don't think it's going away anytime soon. And it's just becoming more of a tool for these businesses. And it's just really exciting to be a part of and let your creativity kind of like spiral in how you can make your brand more visually appealing to your followers.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, Shannon. If any of our viewers or listeners, if you're listening to this audibly, like what you hear or see, please feel free to drop us a follow, like, comment, share, subscribe, and we will see you in our next episode. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.